2014 University of Washington Freshman Convocation will be open with the singing of the Star-Spangled Banner by Alexis Newman, accompanied by the University Wind Ensemble, conducted by Professor Timothy Saltzman of the School of Music. Ms. Newman is a freshman and plans to major in music. The audience will please rise.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. My name is Sean Wong, the University Marshal. In my regular job, I'm Professor of English, but as University Marshal, I have the honor and privilege of offering you our first words of official greeting. 4 years from now, you will hear the University Marshal give you our last official words when he or she declares that the 144th commencement exercises of the University of Washington are now closed. There is a gratifying symmetry in all this hail and farewell, a symmetry that is reflected as well in the 4 Ionic columns you see before you. These are replicas of the original columns that grace the facade of the university's first building, which opened over 150 years ago in 1861 on a rise in downtown Seattle, a piece of property still owned by the University of Washington, but now occupied by the Fairmont Olympic Hotel. And these same columns will be prominently displayed on the commencement stage in Husky Stadium when you march up to them to graduate. If you look around you at the mezzanine level, you will see the banners identifying each of the university's schools and colleges, arranged in historical order, beginning with the College of Arts and Sciences and ending with the School of Public Health. Come graduation day, some of you will be carrying these banners, and the rest of you will be parading behind them according to your school or college. The columns and the banners are cherished parts of our University of Washington traditions. As you join in the life of this university, you become part of our traditions. Our experience of the cycles of beginning, development, and ending becomes your experience. But it is important to remember that it is not just this university's life and traditions you are joining. Instead, you are entering into the life and traditions of an ancient and continuous body of learning that connects us to the earliest universities in Europe, and indeed, ultimately to Plato's Academy in the 4th century BC. These connections are symbolized in the medieval caps and gowns we wear on these occasions, and of course, by the special ritual object the University Marshal carries in our ceremonies, the mace. The mace is an ancient symbol of authority that reminds us that the universities are custodians both of enduring traditions of learning and of the power they bestow on those who come to learn. The University of Washington mace is embellished with finely wrought metal sculptures of the university's seal and Denny Hall, and topped by a graceful rendition of Drumheller Fountain. The mace and all these other festive ritual ingredients are simply symbolic reminders of the university's special way of uniting where we are now and what has brought us here so that we can get a good fix on where we're going. And it is great that we are all going there together. It is now my great pleasure to introduce to you the President of the University of Washington, Michael K. Young.
Professor Wong, thank you. I'm honored to welcome the newest members of the University of Washington family. It's a very special family. And you are all here because we saw something very special in you. We'll hear more about some of your remarkable achievements a little later in the ceremony. But what I do know is the path that each of you took to get here today is different from the path taken by anyone else. You come from different places, different ways of life, different traditions, but we welcome those differences. In fact, we embrace them. Diversity is a core value and an ongoing priority of our university. It makes us stronger, more innovative, and better able to respond to the challenges of our day. But as much as we value our differences, I want to take a moment to point out a few things that you have in common. One is that you arrived at the exact same point, the threshold of what I promise will be a truly transformative experience at the University of Washington. It's a turning point in your lives, and we're very excited to be part of it. And two, you did not get here alone. Each of you has someone, more likely several someones, who supported you, believed in you, encouraged you to pursue your dream of a university education. Many of those people are here today, and we'd like to take a moment to thank them and recognize them. I wonder if we could have all the mothers of our students stand. Mothers, grandmothers, anyone feeling particularly maternal to the students? We are grateful for what you did, and we recognize that you have entrusted something very special to us, and we are honored. Also, like all the fathers, grandfathers, uncles, anyone feeling particularly fraternal towards the students, if they'd stand up. Now, if we have any spouses, they can join as well, or significant others. Friends. Okay, that's good. Thank you. We will do this again on the second occasion that our university community comes together to recognize another turning point in the lives of the members of this class, your commencement in 4 years. This is just one of many traditions that have been forged during the university's 150-year history. Now it's your turn to carry out these traditions and become part of the rich history of this extraordinary university. And I look forward to watching you do just that, as do we all. And now I'd like to introduce our stage party today, beginning with our regents. The university's Board of Regents is comprised of 10 members of the state who are appointed by the governor and confirmed by the state senate. These dedicated men and women devote many hours each year to the welfare of this university. I have the privilege of working closely with them, and their devotion and commitment is truly extraordinary, and we are every day grateful for their service. 7 of our regents are with us this morning, and I'd like to introduce them at this time. Regent William Eyre, who is the chair of our Board of Regents, Regent Christiane Blake, Regent Marnie Brown, who is our student regent, Regent Joanne Harrell, Regent Constance Rice, Regent Rogelio Riojas, and Regent Herb Simon. Ladies and gentlemen, the regents of the University of Washington. Also seated with us on the platform today are the deans of the university's 16 schools and colleges, the senior administrative leadership of the university, faculty members and representatives from the student body, the faculty senate, and the alumni association. Would all of you please stand and allow us to thank you for your service to this university. Thank you. And lastly, please join me in thanking School of Music Professor Timothy Saltzman and our outstanding student wind ensemble who are giving us such wonderful music today. Thank you.
Thank you, President Young. And now I'd like to introduce to you the man who heads up all of the units on campus that will serve as your support crew on this amazing journey you're about to begin. As the Vice President for Student Life, he oversees such diverse areas as food and housing, the counseling and career centers, student publications, our recreational sports programs, and the Center of Student Life and Student Government, the Husky Union Building, otherwise known as the Hub. It is a huge responsibility, and we are very privileged to have a uniquely qualified leader in this role. Please join me in welcoming our Vice President for Student Life, Dr. Denzel Sweet.
Thank you. Good morning. You know, it's really great to see so many of you out here today because it gives us just a hint of the exciting year that lies ahead. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We absolutely love having you on campus, and we really do miss you when you're gone. But that's a secret between me and the 7,000 of you sitting out there, so don't tell anyone. This morning, I just want to take a moment and add my voice of welcome to that which you've already heard, but I'd also like to say something to you that perhaps you will not hear from others, and that is goodbye and thank you. The reason that I'm starting with goodbye and thank you is that these few years ahead of you, they will go by faster than you can imagine. And if you are like your predecessors, and I strongly suspect that you are, you will have left the University of Washington not only being a better person, but you will have made the university a better place. And so for all that you're about to do for us, I say thank you. Your first year with us will be a strangely exciting time. It is a time when many feel great joy at arriving on campus for the first time, while simultaneously being apprehensive about the uncertainty that lies ahead. I'm actually betting some of you are still asking mom and dad if you can get homeschooling. It's too late for that. But you'll have the time of your life here. You will have experiences filled with trials and triumphs, delights and disappointments, but mostly experiences to satiate the soul with lasting memories and eternal friendships. We here in the Division of Student Life are here to help guide you and support you as you embark on this transformational journey of discovery. We're here to listen when times get tough, to help you with career choices, and to make sure you have a friendly and supportive community within the larger university environment. We also offer a wide array of activities to enhance your personal health, which we know is important to academic success. And we're not forgetting about families either. Through our parent and family programs, we strive to keep everyone closely connected with what's happening on campus. Student life is at the hub of many of the activities that complement your academic pursuits. And make no mistake, the academic pursuits need to remain your number one priority, but it also requires that you get involved. And I want you to hear me when I tell you that your university experience will be incomplete if all you do is go to class, go home, and study all night. We know from years of experience and research that students who participate in the fabric of campus life, who join clubs and organizations or student government, These students graduate at higher rates, they are much more satisfied with the college experience, they have better grades, and they are less likely to drop out. And the opportunities for involvement on this campus abound. Some of you may want to join our outstanding student newspaper called The Daily, where you'll be able to apply what you have learned and develop communication skills that are fundamental for success in any field. My message here for you this morning is that whatever path you follow, just remember that it is critically important to do well in the classroom, but it's also important to get involved with your campus at every level, starting with the faculty, but also including the staff and your fellow students. And before I close, I'm actually going to take the lead and personally engaging with you. I'm going to tweet you a question right now, but don't answer it until after the program. I want you to pay attention. But I'm really looking forward to hearing your responses. And now I'd like to introduce to you someone who has challenged herself to succeed both academically and in significant leadership roles. She's an informatics major and is beginning her senior year as the president of the Associated Students of the University of Washington. Please join me in welcoming your student body president, Christina Zhao.
Welcome friends, family, and new students to the University of Washington. I'm so excited for you to be here. When I first stepped onto campus my freshman year, I was pretty overwhelmed. The sheer size of this university can be daunting, and I know some of you came from high schools and cities much smaller than the one I came from. Throughout my first year, I struggled to find my place. I was confronted with unknown after unknown as my academic, social, and extracurricular life constantly turned upside down. Transitioning to such a large university is a difficult process, and it doesn't always go smoothly. The comforting part about this is that there are 7,000 other people going through the exact same thing, as well as many others who have gone through it before you. The student next to you is just as worried about not making close friends. They're just as worried about taking their first midterm, and they, like you, have no idea how to work the laundry machines in the residence halls. Whatever you're going through here, I promise, you're not alone. For the next few years, you'll have the privilege of walking by thousands of students on the same journey that you are on. Each of you are incredibly talented, incredibly hardworking, and deeply passionate about the world around you. The people you'll walk by every day will have that same drive, that same spark, and that same desire to do good for themselves and those around them. You have such a great opportunity to encourage each other through the hardships and difficult transitions so that you can succeed together at the University of Washington. Investing in a community is one of your most powerful tools for success. It's the people around you, whether you find them through academics, a sports team, or a faith group, that will carry you through the unforeseen challenges and will transform you into someone greater than you ever imagined you could be. It's the communities and relationships that you build here that make a big campus of 40,000 students feel comfortable and like home. It's the people you meet that make this experience so special. Thank you, and again, welcome to the University of Washington.
Thank you. It just reminds me that during early fall start, I got the privilege of teaching 30 freshmen. We just ended our class, and I just wanted to remind all of those students your last homework assignment is due on Monday. And I know you're out there. One of the things we want to do today is introduce you, the freshman class, and entering students to our faculty and deans and the university community. At the same time, we also want to tell them a little bit about you. There is probably no one more familiar with the freshman class than our Dean of Undergraduate Academic Affairs, Dr. Ed Taylor. Dean Taylor is a graduate of Gonzaga University, and received his PhD from the University of Washington. He has been a member of the faculty in the College of Education since 1994. Please join me in welcoming Dean Ed Taylor.
Friends and family, just think. This all began with your loved ones in caps and gowns in the very beginning. Indeed, they've grown up a lot over the years, and in some ways I suspect they don't look that much different than you did when you were this age. Wait, is he doing the robot up there? Actually, they look very different than you. They're not like you at all. They won't be doing the robot. They'll be making robots and landing them on Mars. I do believe that author Robert Munsch got it right in his book, Love You Forever. It started with the song, I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always. As long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. This is a story about a mother, could be a father, could be a grandfather. It's about a mother who has this baby that gets into all kinds of mischief, and at the end of the day, no matter what this baby does, that mother rocks that baby back and forth and whispers in that baby's ear, I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always. As long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. As that baby grows up, still gets into mischief, mother holds that baby, rocks him back and forth, whispers in his ear, I'll love you forever. If you follow the story, in the end, that baby grows up and is a young man, and he's eventually holding that mother, who's a little bit older and a little more fragile, and is rocking mom back and forth, or dad, or grandfather, whispering in her ear, I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living, my mommy you'll be. We should feel inspired and hopeful at the likelihood that before we know it, these young people, if we do this well, will be holding on to this community and this world that we care about, and we'll be holding on to some of you, and if they do it with great care, we will know that we have done our job well here. To our students, you are the 153rd entering class at the University of Washington. Congratulations. A few things about you. You are a 3.76 grade point average overall. Not that we're competitive, but last year's entering class was 3.75. Here's a couple of potential facts. Many of you declared business as your intended major, but you will find art history as your passion. Many of you have declared political science as your major of choice, and you will go on to study chemistry and then perhaps even go on to be a public school teacher in the very high schools that you came from. You'll take a course on global poverty and decide to go on and change the world in some way. You have some things in common. There are 61 Andrews in this class, not to be mistaken for the 58 Andys. 48 Matthews, 42 Michaels, 42 Rachels, 53 Sarahs, 37 Emilys. There's one Esteban right here in the front row, and there's an Ashley in the very back. Another feature that makes you kind of unique, and this is just my data, I've just been observing you the last couple of days, and as you walked in here, here's my count. My math may be wrong, but I've counted 1,200 pairs of flip-flops, 2,000 pairs of Converse, 200 pairs of Vans, 300 pair of riding boots, 10 pairs of Birkenstocks, and 1 pair of those interesting toe shoes. I'm not sure what they're called, and I'm not sure where you're going with those, but go with pride. You come from all over the state and the world. 4,311 from the state of Washington alone. There are 108 students from Newport High School. It's okay to cheer. 86 from Inglemoor High School. Yep, 86 from Skyline High School. 75 students just came across the bridge from Bellevue High School. 68 Garfield Bulldogs are in this class, who will join 54 Franklin Quakers, your now brothers and sisters. 63 Roosevelt Rough Riders, 59 Issaquah High School Eagles, 10 students from Walla Walla, 5 students from Colville, enthusiastic bunch, 94 students from Spokane, Washington, or is that Spokane? 21 students from Juanita High School, 28 students from Chief Sealth International School, and 16 of you were homeschooled. 651 students from California will give up your flip-flops. Wow. You will give up your flip-flops and buy galoshes in about 1 month. 8 students from Alaska, 42 students from Hawaii, 8 students from the Peach State of Georgia. Special to note, 72 students waddled across the Oregon border and are now Washington Huskies. We're so proud of you. 5 students from Jesuit High School in Portland had their prayers answered, and they're now Huskies. 3 students, 3, saw a light, followed that light in search of higher learning, and a winning tradition, traveled west across the Columbia River. After graduating from Pullman High School, made their way here and are now Washington Huskies. We welcome you. Oh, and you can always go home, but you'll always be Huskies. We have 1 student from Johannesburg, South Africa, 110 from Beijing, 35 from Shanghai, 22 from Chengdu, 40 students from Seoul. You're from India, Malaysia, and Canada, eh? You are all Huskies now, as Professor Wong said. And it doesn't matter how you got here. It doesn't matter what you wore to get here. What matters is that the fit is right and that we're on this journey together. Now, back to Robert Munch. I'd like to, in welcoming all of these students, I'd like you to stay seated, and I'd like everybody in the audience to please stand, including the stage party, if you would be so kind. And if you could, let's look at these students. Now hold your arms as if you're holding these young babies one more time, even though they're not babies anymore, and do this with me. Let's rock back and forth. Rock back and forth with me. Back and forth, rock back and forth. And say these words, I'll love you forever. And join me in welcoming and applauding our 153rd entering class to the University of Washington.
Thank you, Dean Taylor. And parents, don't worry. None of your students will ever change their major. They are definitely going to be doctors and engineers and business people. We guarantee it. Well, we've learned a good deal about you, our incoming class, and now we'd like to introduce to you some of the faculty members who will be your teachers and mentors for the next 4 years. They are experts in nearly every imaginable field, and every day they are engaged in research and scholarship that is quite literally changing the world in which we live. The person who knows our faculty best is our provost, Anamari Kause. The provost is the university's chief academic officer and the person who works most closely with the deans and the faculty to shape your academic experience. Dr. Kause, a professor of psychology, has been on the faculty of the University of Washington for over 25 years and was previously the dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. Please join me in welcoming our provost, Anamari Kause.
Thank you. On behalf of the faculty, I want to join the rest of the voices on stage in welcoming you to the University of Washington. And And I'd like to introduce you to our faculty, some of whom are seated behind me and who greeted you when you entered the arena here today. Among our faculty, we've had 6 Nobel Prize winners, over 100 members of the Institute of Medicine and the National Academy of Sciences and Engineering. We have over 65 members of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences and over 140 fellows in the American Association for the Advancement of Science. Of course, I can't possibly cover all of their activities, but I'd like to give you a brief glimpse into some of the opportunities that our faculties make available to you as undergraduates. And by doing so, I hope to convey an important point regarding undergraduate education here at the University of Washington, which is a research university. And that's that the research and scholarship that takes place here frequently involves undergraduates, just like yourselves, in roles that are very significant. Indeed, in many cases, it's students themselves that take the lead. A wonderful example of this comes from our College of Engineering, where researchers in the lab of Associate Professor of Mechanical Engineering, Nathan Snidecki, are investigating how the mechanics of cells affect human biology and disease. In 2012, the lab needed a miniaturized lens that could work with a cell phone as a microscope, and it was undergraduate Thomas Larson who took on the challenge. He developed a lens that turns a smartphone into a microscope, capable of magnifying objects by 15 times. But he didn't stop there. He got help from the Build Your Own Business program in the School of Business and became an entrepreneur. He raised money with a Kickstarter campaign, and when he graduated last year, he set up his own business manufacturing the lenses, which have already been found to have medical applications. He's now developed a lens that magnifies by 150 times. We're delighted to have Dr. Snidecki and Mr. Larson with us here today. Would you stand? There you are. You could be Mr. Larson, or like him. Now, just north of here, near McCarty Hall, there's a different sort of lab where undergraduates are working with faculty members in a hunt for something with the mysterious name of dark matter. We know it's there. In fact, it makes up about 85% of all the matter in the universe. But it apparently doesn't interact with light or matter. And though scientists have been trying for several decades, no one has been able to detect it. Now, Professor of Physics Leslie Rosenberg is hoping to change that. Dr. Rosenberg, will you stand? Dr. Rosenberg is heading up an experiment at the University Center for Experimental Nuclear Physics and Astrophysics to search for the theorized dark matter particle called an axion, and last I checked, there were 13 undergraduates working at the center. This is truly cutting-edge science, and students just like you are working right alongside university faculty who are engaged in the search. One of the things I often tell parents when we're doing orientation and students is, when you're here, you're not studying from a textbook. You're studying from the people that are in the textbook and who are going to be in next year's or 10 years from now textbook. And it's not just the sciences where research is taking place. There's also amazing research being done in the arts and humanities. The university recently held its 11th Summer Institute in the Art and Humanities, where selected undergraduates engage in scholarly research with university faculty. Associate Professor Maria Elena Garcia has been faculty at the Institute for the past 2 years, She is director of the Comparative History of Ideas program, and in 2012 was awarded the university's prestigious Distinguished Teaching Award. Dr. Garcia, will you stand up? One of Dr. Garcia's students is David Chen. David researched and wrote an award-winning paper on the ways that religion and ethnicity were part of the social struggles of indigenous people from Latin America who work as berry pickers here in Washington State. His paper was circulated widely among the scholars and advocates that David met in his research, who have embraced him for his insights and his commitment to social justice. David was just selected to work in Peru with Partners in Health, an organization founded by Harvard medical anthropologist Paul Farmer. Dr. Garcia has herself traveled with students to live and study in Peru, and that kind of global learning takes place at many sites across the world, including the university's magnificent Rome Center and the León Center in Spain. These kinds of global learning experiences with mentors are extremely powerful. It's something I can attest to. We talked about how you parents will love your children forever. These relationships that are forged in the labs are also forever. When you work, faculty and students shoulder to shoulder, you're doing research, but you're also building relationships that last a lifetime. At last week's football game, I was talking to Congressman Derek Hilmer and his family, and I found out that his brother Ryan, who was an undergraduate at the UW and worked with me, looking at the adjustment of children who had suffered abuse, is now a professor at the University of North Carolina at Charlottesburg, and he just won their highest award for mentoring students. I could not have been as proud. So he started here at the University of Washington as an undergraduate working with me, and now he's mentoring students, and one of the best. It's just remarkable how the science, how the cycle works. You never know where these experiences can lead. Many of the undergraduates who have worked with me aren't university professors. They're doctors, they're lawyers, they're in business. But the experience of learning how to pose good questions, how to analyze problems, and how to see a project through to completion can add immeasurably to your learning and to your life, no matter what you do. This morning, we've been able to touch on only a few of the opportunities available to you as undergraduates. But please know, there are literally thousands more. Education today is a dynamic, collaborative enterprise. Think of the University of Washington as your laboratory, and you can play the role of mad scientist, or if you look around campus, you can be a mad artist. The experiment you design is up to you, but know this: whatever field of study catches your interest or inspires your imagination, there's a faculty member here who shares your interest and passion and who will help you to succeed. The world of tomorrow is being created right here at the University of Washington, and you will be an important part of that creative process, perhaps much sooner than you think. I wish you all the very best, and I look forward to seeing you on campus.
Thank you, Dr. Kause. I think I've already discovered dark matter in some of my students' grammar. Way ahead of the curve. I'd like to invite President Young back to the lectern. President Young.
Welcome to the University of Washington. I remember what seems now not so many years ago, sitting in chairs very much like the ones you're sitting in at a different university when I was being oriented as a freshman. I'll tell you what I remember most. I remember days full of new experiences, new friends, new challenges, new opportunities. But most clearly, I remember being a bit overwhelmed and more than a little daunted by almost everything. But over time, I came to understand that that full, demanding, overwhelming day was actually full of moments, a series of moments. Moments of fun, some were boring, trivial moments, some were difficult, more than a few were happy and exciting. There were forgettable and memorable moments. But I came to understand most acutely that within that series of moments, some were important. I learned what I did with those important moments was what mattered, what was important. It indeed mattered. Now, I know you a little better than you might think. I've read many of your applications. I've met many of you on campus. You're among the most amazing, talented students who've ever walked onto this campus. A full 100th point higher in your GPA than your predecessors. You're brilliant, you're powerful, you're curious, you're creative. More than any other group of students I know, you have the capacity to seize those important moments when they present. I remember clearly a moment in my sophomore year of college, one of those important moments that mattered, though I have to confess, I can't say that I really understood that at the time. I was sitting in the back of my class, which is where I always sat in my classes, devoutly hoping to avoid the attention of the professor, which I always devoutly hoped to avoid. The course was designed to introduce research methodologies in political science and prepare us to do some actual research. So every week we prepared a paper regarding a research proposal and submitted it to the professor. The professor then evaluated the papers, or most of the time ripped them apart, and then returned them to us. One day, the professor asked whether Michael Young was present in the class. Crossing my fingers that there was in fact another Michael Young in the class, I put my head down and refrained from raising my hand. To my surprise and chagrin, he repeated his inquiry, and I had no choice but to acknowledge my attendance. He then ordered me to come talk to him immediately after class. Now, you have no idea how long 50 minutes is when that Damocles sword is hanging over your head. And I don't remember anything else that went on in that class. But I do remember wondering whether my father might be willing to reemploy me in his grocery store as a bag boy when I was kicked out of college. To my utter amazement, after that class, the professor told me that he'd seen some promise in some of the papers I'd written and wondered whether I would be willing to be a research assistant on a large-scale research project he was about to commence. I accepted with alacrity, and it changed my life. Do you know, I can draw a direct line from that moment to the moment I was sitting in my first law school class. The list of things I learned while working with that professor is long. I learned to research, how to prepare analysis, how to write a coherent argument, how to analyze data. It helped me realize my ambition to go to law school. I was fortunate. That generous professor played a major role in the formation of my career. Now, this is a university of limitless opportunities and generous professors. Seek out those opportunities, make your own moments, and especially be willing to accept help from others. Join, search, explore, engage, and whether that moment's expected or unexpected, seize it. Now, I'd done well in college, in part because I have a good short-term memory. I could master most of the material in the textbook in a relatively short time and repeat it back on the test with some efficiency. This isn't to say I really learned anything in any useful sense, but I didn't view that as my highest priority. I was skiing 5 days a week, and that seemed to take precedence. So when I got to law school, I thought the same skill set would work. The professor would assign the cases to read, I would memorize and repeat them back, and the professor would dutifully give me a good grade. I'd go skiing 5 days a week, and everything would be in its proper order. And things proceeded really well, right up until the first class. The professor assigned the cases. I memorized the cases, fully prepared to dutifully repeat them back. We then got into class. The professor then asked the fateful question. As the student started to recite the facts of the case, he said, "Why is that relevant?" Easy, I thought, because it's written in the book. A classmate responded with that exact answer and was promptly eviscerated by the professor. Then it got even worse. The professor went on to ask why the judge's reasoning in the case was wrong. It was written down, and it was wrong, he said. Again, I rehearsed my father's phone number and pondered whether that bag boy job in his supermarket might still be available. But I'd wanted to be a lawyer my entire life, and I wasn't prepared to let a little thing like being entirely clueless get in the way. So I started to study nonstop every day. I remember starting early in the morning and ending long after any sensible person should have been in bed. But more importantly, I refined my approach to the information. Every time I read a line or reflected on an argument, I questioned its relevance, its coherence, its correctness. What was the purpose and result of this decision? What impact might this decision have on every other area of law or on human behavior? I took nothing for granted and questioned everything. I answered every question, and then I questioned every answer. Is the expert wrong? What does this really mean? Is it right? Is it possible? Is it plausible? Probable? Is it moral? Is it ethical? Is it true? I was, I think really for the first time in my life, thinking for myself. And just as I can draw a straight line from that experience in my sophomore political science class to my first day of law school, I can draw a straight line from that first day of law school to where I stand today, the privilege of presiding over this extraordinary university. From studying fervently out of sheer terror to developing a passion for law that's taken me all over the world, I've learned to engage in deep and meaningful explanation. You will have many moments while you're here, and you will do the same. For instance, you may read the Iliad and the Odyssey, and when you do, learn it to be sure, but ask, what does it tell you about the human instinct and quest for power, for glory, for peace, for riches? And how does that help you better understand what's going on today in the Middle East, or Asia, or even Washington, D.C.? What does it tell you about leadership and persuading people to do something? What's it tell you about running a major corporation or a major nonprofit organization? What does it teach you about loyalty and rivalry? How does understanding the genesis of the animosity between Agamemnon and Achilles help us better understand what's happening in Iraq or Syria? And how could we use that understanding to promote a more peaceful or just world? What does the relationship between Odysseus and Penelope teach us about love, about commitment, and even how to deal with annoying boyfriends? Now, maybe while you're here, you'll learn how to develop a computer program for a game. And when you do, ask whether it can be used to teach math or science to young children, just as Professor Soren Popovich and his colleagues do at the Center for Game Learning. Or ask whether it can be used to cure a disease, just as Professor David Baker and biochemistry student Brian Kopnick and their colleagues do in the Institute for Protein Design. There they team up with gamers who play Fold It, the game they developed to learn how to fold proteins that might lead to cures for AIDS and the Ebola virus. You might learn to speak Japanese or Chinese or Arabic. And when you do, ask, how do the grammatical constructions of these languages affect the way people think, the way they interact, the way they make decisions, the way they learn? You might study the oceans, and when you do, ask, how can we harness the great energy to produce power and reduce greenhouse gas emissions? How can we predict better the tsunamis that come and destroy lives? How might we preserve the coral reefs and their essential functions? You might study global health, and when you do, ask how we develop and even more importantly, implement policies across the globe that genuinely and effectively improve health, like Professor Chris Murray and his colleagues in the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation. Friends, there are answers locked inside your questions, so you can and you should ask them. The purpose of asking questions and questioning the answer is the very purpose of this great university, and it's your purpose while you're here. Asking the questions and questioning the answer will lead you to places you can hardly imagine. It certainly did for me. I was born in a small lumber town in Northern California. My high school graduating class had 50 students. Before college, I'd never been out of the United States. I think I hadn't visited more than 4 states in the United States. I spoke no foreign languages. Indeed, I don't think I'd ever met anyone from another country before I went to college. I hadn't read virtually any of the canon of great literature. I'd dissected a frog and blown up at least one chemistry lab, but that was my entire exposure to science. But seizing my moments, I was able to do things which made me very grateful. And I know you will do too, and even more. So now, I'm going to invite you to look under your seats. Under your seat, you will find a t-shirt. Not you up in the audience. You'll find that t-shirt, and that t-shirt has one of many messages on it. Now, the size may not fit you, and you're welcome to exchange it for another size on the way out. But no matter what message you get, it will fit you. These are the messages: dare to do, be the first, question the answer, together we will, passion never rests, be a world of good, driven to discover, and my personal favorite, undaunted. These themes reflect the amazing potential in each of you to recognize your moments. You will seize those moments. You will be boundless. You will answer the question. You will change the world for good. Great universities like this one are designed to help you believe in yourself. The university is a network of extraordinary professors, exceptionally dedicated staff, and remarkable alumni spread all over the globe, united in a shared belief in the future, and you are that future. Welcome to your moments. Welcome to the University of Washington.
Thank you. Thank you, President Young, for those great words of advice. And there's one t-shirt out there that says, "You're taking an 8:30 class." Lucky you. The University of Washington Men's Glee Club, under the direction of Associate Professor Jeffrey Bors of our School of Music, will now teach us the school song, "Rise Up with Pride for Washington." They will first sing the song a cappella, and then we will all sing the song with the University Wind Ensemble. The lyrics to the song are printed on the last page of your program. Please rise.
Rise up with pride for Washington, for purple and for gold. From far and wide we meet as one, as Huskies proud and bold. Washington, we hail to thee, honor, truth, integrity, forever shine from lake to shore, your light upon us evermore.
Oh, great. Now it's our turn. Raise your voices.
Rise up with pride for Washington, for purple and for gold. From far and wide we meet as one, as Huskies proud.
Thank you. Thank you. What a wonderful way to begin the academic year. On behalf of the university, I'd like to thank our honored guests and all of you who have made this day so special. The audience is requested to remain seated until the completion of the recession by the platform party. The 2014 freshman convocation of the University of Washington is now closed. Thank you.